I was about to say good morning, but I'm going to go ahead and say good afternoon because it's after 12. Welcome to the Set Solution Lunch and Learn series. I'm Dan Broussard. I'm the EVP of Sales. We appreciate everybody taking the time. We know your most valuable asset is your time. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We will be hearing today from our partner, Splunk, on Remote Work Insights, which is a free tool that can help you with remote workers. But before we get started, I wanted to take a couple of minutes just to kind of discuss our partnership that we have with Splunk. Set Solutions and Splunk started this partnership over 7 years ago. And during that time, Set Solutions has become an elite partner, which is the highest level partnership that Splunk gives out. And we are the #1 Splunk reseller / integrator in the state of Texas. Currently, Set Solutions holds over 88 Splunk certification accreditations. So that's over one per employee, by the way. As a thank you for joining this call today, one of the things that we're going to do is give all the customers on the call a free Set Solutions health check. And we will do that at the end of the presentation. You'll see a slide, but we'll also be sending out a survey. And if you want to take that survey and say you want the free health check, we will have a sales rep follow up with you to go through the logistics of making that happen. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping. If you're having any difficulties receiving your lunch today, make sure you reach out to Lauren and she will take care of you. Again, thanks for joining. I'm going to turn it over to JP, John Patrick. And John Patrick is from Splunk, and he will be doing the presentation, it looks like from his backyard. So thank you, John, and we look forward to the content.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Hopefully everybody can hear me well. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dan said, my name is John Patrick, or JP. I've been with Splunk for around 4.5 years now. So I work, my partner, Mike James, up there in the corner. But we just kind of want to get started today to talk about our Remote Work Insights application that, as Dan said, is available for free on Splunk base. What this was designed to do is, this was something that Splunk ourselves actually, during this time of a lot of remote workers, it's something that we saw that was necessary for us to help our team, all of my fellow Splunkers and our partners as well, become productive. What it's designed to do, as remote work is basically the standard for us now. Some of us have been doing remote work for years, but this is actually being done to give us some real-time monitoring across our disparate remote systems and just provide some insights to both our IT teams, security teams, management teams, et cetera, and kind of focus on our business operations and productivity. So this is available for both cloud and on-prem customers. And what it is basically it's a curated collection of apps and TAs. We've got some blogs and instructions that I'm going to show you as we go through it, and there's some best practice services available, sample searches, et cetera, that we'll talk about. But here's a high level, I'm just going to call it architecture for lack of a better term here, to show some of the areas and what I'm going to focus on kind of covering today. What I want you to think of, though, is that it's really more of what I'm going to term an art of the possible based on real use scenarios. So let's talk about collaboration tools, some of our multi-factor authentication tools. So you see Okta, Duo, SailPoint, our collaboration tools such as Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, etc. All of this data coming into a location to give us a dashboard or a view of what's happening within our workforce. So that's kind of a little bit to it. Just some screenshots, just kind of want to show high level. This is there because I want to point out a couple of things. We've got the ability, you've all hopefully have been playing with our dashboards, and as you move into the, this is all set up for dark mode for those of you who had that. And also our mobile application. If you haven't been able to do, most of our dashboards render well on the mobile devices as well. So this is kind of a sample of what that might look like for everyone. So just kind of wanted to do that. Now, I could sit here for hours and do PowerPoints, but that's not why y'all joined. So what I want to do is go directly. I'm going to go ahead and launch this in full screen mode. Everybody can hopefully see this well. What this is what here we're basically calling it our executive dashboard, but think of it more as just a management dashboard that might be relevant, NOC, SOC, et cetera, or just as a general management tool. And it's focused, and I'm going to kind of talk about the three different columns here, is basically our VPN activity apps that are coming in, our collaboration tool in the middle, and then our authentication on the outside here. In this case is Okta that's providing our data. These are tools that Splunk uses ourselves. We're using Global Protect from Palo Alto, and we use Zoom and Okta as our other tools. Now, I'm going to kind of walk through a couple of things, and I'm going to kind of do this dual purpose. Number one, I'm just showing you the overview. This is just kind of total quantities. This is just a real-time number of active VPN connections, active Zoom meetings, which app is most popular today. Obviously, it's Zoom. But the next tier, and as I'm talking, I want you to, hopefully you'll notice a few things. You'll start seeing some things, and I'm going to give you a couple of hints. You'll notice we've got a small problem here in our VPNs. We've seen a nice trend line for the past few days, but I've suddenly got a problem here. But we'll talk about, remember Splunk is our data to everything and platform that we do, and talk about turning our data into doing. I'm going to walk through troubleshooting this as well, just to kind of give you a little bit about it. We've also noticed here, again, kind of a trend line focusing on our number of Zoom meetings. How often are they happening? How many are we having? And what's the average meeting duration? I know some of you are already going like, man, I would love to know a lot of this data, just specifically. How long are these meetings? What are we doing there? And then finally over here in my Okta, you'll notice something. Salesforce has been our predominant tool that people have been using for the past few days, but I suddenly see something that for some reason today it's not there. So again, this is just triggering in my mind. I might have some work. And then I'm looking here on our geo map here that's showing everything. We all try to use some sort of, you know, the red, yellow, green methodology. We prefer green to be our most common, but you'll notice here that we've got a lot more failures than successes. So again, that's given me a visual indicator that I've got some work. I've got some locations that are doing well. But again, I'm just doing something to kind of look at this to see, you know, basically how's everybody doing? Because one of the things that this was kind of done, and how the genesis of this is, you know, we focused on three key things. Is our workforce connected? Are they able to get there? Are they able to stay productive and run the business? And finally, kind of, are they able to stay in touch? And that's kind of what I want you to think about as we go through this. How can I use this and expand this to help my business improve and focus on these activities? So let me go look at the VPN. I'm just going to go take a look here real quick, and I can already see some things, and I'm going to see this. And regardless of the tool you're using on the back end, these dashboards are going to help. I'm going to see some things, and again, I can select time frames, countries, the drop downs y'all are familiar with. I can see some items here, again, that cause me a little bit of pause here. I see a number of things. I see logins by country. That might be relevant for me just because I don't expect people to be logging in from other countries or different cities, whatever. In fact, in this case, I'm kind of curious what's going on in Ashburn, because I sure got a lot of people going on. Oh yeah, I forgot. We actually had a meeting there. Okay, that's something. But I start looking at all these different items that are going on, and I can kind of see that I've got some failures that are going on here. Now, let me make sure first, as I kind of pivot here, Zoom was my number one thing I noticed that was having a problem. So let me kind of take a look here at Zoom and what's going on here. Well, I've got a bunch of meetings. I've got some average meetings that are here. And I can also see my meeting counts. I notice my meeting counts have dropped. So obviously I've got some sort of problem, or maybe it is lunch. Maybe everybody drops off, but so far I've got some things. And I also may have meetings on time versus overtime. Maybe I got some people that are talking too long, which I promise you I will not do today. But we might have some different problems, and I'm just showing you these are kind of some different areas where I can use this data to make decisions and to take some actions on items. One thing that's relevant here is that we know we've got a problem, but you'll notice all of a sudden in Zoom, instead of it being standard scheduled meetings, I've got everybody's doing instant meetings. What's going on? Why Why is everybody doing instant meetings? And then also just some additional, everybody's using a Mac versus Windows versus iPhones. What's going on with this type of data? So I can see here, and I'm deliberately not making this a crisis because I want to show you what the activities are, but I'm kind of showing you why this is important and what we can be using the tool for. I'm going to switch also over to my authentication side just to take a look. And this is also going to cause me a little bit of a problem here. I'm going to start looking. I don't think anybody thinks 52% authentication for their activities is a good indicator there, but then we've obviously got the trend line down. We've got just some basic authentication attempts that are shown here. But again, what I'm hoping for, I would hope for 100%. That's my goal. My SLA is 80%. I'm making that up, but a number that I might have here, and then I can start seeing what's going on, and I see my failures, my spark lines giving me my trend. Fortunately, though, because we're using Splunk and we've got a graph, I actually see something here that's going on. I've got something going on with the login denied, no matching user is assigned to my radius. Okay, that's interesting. I may see something. Now, I want to take this as well. Also, starting to take a look at all of the different apps that are coming in here as well. I can see what the authentications, again, obviously my failures and successes, that red is bad, I think we know, but I see all the different tools that my internal employees are using. There's a couple of other activities I can actually use this for as well. Not only seeing if it's a single user or multiple users type having that, but think of this, kind of spin it around as, what if I wanted to take this into a software rationalization exercise? This may be a perfect time for us to look at what subscriptions are we paying for that we might not be using that much, or what type of items are we using inside that I haven't seen anybody log into in a month. These are some of the items that we can start using this for. Now, one of the things I kind of want to do, and I want to make sure, I want to go back to my global protect just to kind of walk through that and go into this and just kind of see again, show you again where, when I click down, I see these activities. And again, because Splunk, I've got the ability to make sure that I see all of my reasons for login failure. What I should have done the first time, rather than talking the whole time, is actually go take a look and actually drill down and take a look. Again, for Splunk, I'm going to go back and look. I've got my authentication failure, this MFA poll loop. I've got the radius server. I may already know, and I have the ways, and this is something where our friends at Set Solutions can help us with taking this to the next step of going like, what can I do here? We can start looking at doing some sort of automation tools, making sure these items are, whatever this troubleshooting, in this case, I know I need to go get my agent working again. But I have the ability, using Splunk, the data to anything tool, I have the ability to go in and take that from that simple, or shouldn't say simple, but that search that was there that showed me my error, back to my dashboard that is actually here. Now, I want to I'm going to pivot real quick, because one of the things I want to do is also talk about, we've talked about our Office 365. Again, another application available on Splunk base that's here that could also be useful for this, and being able to look at just our Office 365 overview. I've got the ability to look just at my Azure directories, what's happening with OneDrive, SharePoint, etc. And I've got a host of different items that are here to kind of, basically, how am I doing with this? And because of the fact that I can do this, think about this from the perspective of, I'm talking about Zoom, Office 365. I can do this with Salesforce. I can just have the ability to take each one of these and actually move it around. And remember, the beauty of Splunk is I've got the ability, as I'm changing my dashboards, I've got the ability to add panels from any other location. I can clone them from one dashboard to the other and just add that in there. So I've got that ability to just go ahead, and I'm going to cancel that. I don't want to mess with my buddies using the environment here, but I've got the ability to do all of this from this single tool. So I'm going to pivot back again and finish up my PowerPoint. Now, couple of things, and I'm going to try to stay on time because there may be questions, etc. That was our remote work insights. We've had some news that I want to share with you and share out as well, and then we'll open it up for questions. Or let me ask, Mikey, did any questions come in that you want me to stop for now or just continue on?
Not yet. We're good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So a couple of things that have come up that we believe were newsworthy again for the 2020 Gartner position, Splunk as a leader in the SIM space. I think most of you are familiar with that, and we've seen this quite a bit. Something that's even a little more interesting is Splunk is now in the 2020, we've been placed as a visionary in the application performance monitoring based on our acquisition of SignalFX. So this is something exciting. It's put us not only, you know, it's a fairly recent acquisition, but it's also something that's positioned us to execute. And we've seen some great strides with that. So look for some interesting stuff to come from Splunk from there. And then finally, one of the items I want to make sure that we cover is talking about our Google Cloud partnership. So in the past, those of you who may have wanted to use Splunk Cloud, your availability was limited to one vendor. We announced this May 5th, and in August, we'll announce the general availability of our Splunk Cloud also being GCP, or the Google Cloud platform. That's there. So having said all that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over. Brant, I'll pass it over to you, and then we can open up for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, JP. So my name is Barney. I am our data analytics practice lead, so I oversee all of our Splunk professional services. So quickly wanted to run through some of the different services we offer at Set Solutions. So first one is a health check, which we'll get into a little bit more details on what that looks like here in a second. We also offer Splunk Enterprise and Enterprise Security Implementation Services, and that is on-premise, Splunk Cloud. If you want to put it in your own public cloud, we're able to help with any of those deployments. We're also able to help with migrations either to Splunk, or maybe you want to move Splunk from your on-premise up into your public cloud. We're able to help with that and walk you through best practices and what needs to be done for that. Within our optimization services and operational support services, we can help you with custom dashboarding, custom apps. We can help with the remote insight services app that we just walked through. We can also help enable your SOC, get the most out of Splunk, whether that be through integrations or working with SOAR tools like Phantom. So lots that we can offer from the Set Solutions side, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our health check services. So our health check services, during this engagement, we would have a Splunk consultant come out and work with your team to do a thorough review of your Splunk environment. So we're going to look at every server you have, dig into the configuration files, and make sure that everything is running as it should. We'll document the findings. Those will be prioritized so you know what are the most important findings, what do you need to fix first. And then we have a meeting with you, the client, to actually go through and review those and make sure you understand what you need to do or how we can help you fix those different issues. And here at the bottom, we've listed out some of the different domains that we review during our health checks. So as you can see, it is quite extensive, and we're looking throughout your entire environment. So if you have, as we mentioned earlier, we are offering these as a value-add service for free. So if you have interest in health check service for your Splunk environment, reach out to your Set Solutions account manager, and we look forward to working with you guys. Happy to help. So now we're going to go ahead and open it up to any questions.
One thing I did want to point out while we're waiting for questions to come in, obviously just Google Splunk RWI app and you will see the Splunk base. There's also a blog from our CTO that talks about kind of the genesis of how the app came about, and some additional just data on exactly what type of, you know, the principles, et cetera, that came about on this. Sorry, I'm scrolling up so fast here, but it just kind of talks about everything and how to get everything downloaded and ready to go on that.
So JP, we do have a question. So the question is, have you seen any trends in the Splunk tuning landscape?
In the Splunk tuning landscape, I may go to Brant or Mike on that. From my perspective, when you're talking about tuning the product over, you know, internally, is what I'm assuming the question is related to. If you could.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're talking about. They haven't any obvious misses or data that you can provide. So Brant, is there anything we've seen lately that we've done from a health checks and we've talked to customers about they can help them?
Sure. So not necessarily anything specific, but I can go into the details of what we're checking in our health checks around those trends. Typically we see a little bit around some cluster issues and your knowledge bundle. So as more and more users are working with Splunk, making sure you keep track of those knowledge bundles, making sure you're not causing any sort of performance issues, having lookups grow too large, stuff like that. Another big one that we see all the time is making sure that you aren't scheduling searches all at the same time, making sure that you properly spread out your searches so that they all run and execute, and you're not having any searches that are skipped, because obviously as you're setting this up, you want your searches to run alert on any known issues. So definitely want to make sure we keep track of those and make sure we're not skipping any of those searches. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully that helps. If not, please elaborate and we can get you some more answers. Anything else, Mike?
We also, sorry to interrupt, we also have we can get a link out. We have a blog post that we wrote a while back on the Set Solutions side that talks about, we compare Splunk to a daily driven hypercar. It's a pretty interesting way we went about it from an analogy standpoint. So it's got some good details in there about stuff that we typically would advise to look at for health checks as well. So we can get that link out to everybody as well.
And there's no other questions at this time. So it looks like we wanted to make this quick and easy, and it looks like it's turning out that way.
Yep. Well, this is Dan. I wanted to thank everybody again for joining the call. Let everybody know that we will be sending out an email right after this with a survey, and we'll be raffling off one Splunk branded Bose Bluetooth speaker, right, for whoever wins that. So good luck on this, and look forward to your responses on the survey and how we can do things better for the next one. But thanks again from Set Solutions, and everybody have a great week, what's left of it.